This video shows you an easy way to load Game of Life patterns in Blender using Python. You'll need to have the latest version of Python and the latest version of Blender, and you'll need to get a blend file and spend $5. Finally, you're going to want to download my finished Python program off my GitHub. It's free. I love free. I've always been fascinated by John Conway's Game of Life ever since I first saw it in October 1970. I was in 10th grade. My friend programmed this short life simulation in Fortran, and I animated it on 8mm film. So, fast forward 55 years or so, and I'm using Blender to animate life. If you don't know about life, it has 3 basic rules. I'll let this video with an AI voice explain.
This is Conway's Game of Life. It's not actually a game. You don't play it, but it follows simple rules that create complex patterns. Each cell is either alive or dead. Its state is determined by its neighbors. Every step, the cells follow these rules. A live cell with 2 or 3 neighbors lives on the next generation. A dead cell with exactly 3 neighbors comes to life. Otherwise, the cell dies or stays dead.
There are dozens and dozens of approaches to animating life in Blender. CG Matter's approach from 5 years ago only uses the shader editor.
Just call it banana.png or whatever it's supposed to be. Have you done all those things? Good. All you have to do is hit that little play button on the top and it automates the entire thing.
George Russell's approach does too.
Reload the image, reload in here. We just got to bring up the image in with this if it doesn't show up. We now get the next generation.
So these are all flat simulations, no cubes. But I want geometry. I like the animation style of Gavin.js's method, with the cells rising when they're born and sinking when they die. And I love Seanterelle's method with the new generations living on top of the old ones. But these last two have a problem I'd like to change. They both start the initial seeding pattern with a bunch of random cells. And while this is still pretty cool, instead, I want to load some patterns that have been discovered over the last 55 years. Here's the big depository of life patterns with hundreds and hundreds of possibilities. Let's take a glider, for example. This little 5-cell guy just wanders diagonally across the screen. And if you look on the life pattern depository, there's a glider pattern stored as an RLE, a run length encoded text file. Let's take a look at that glider RLE. The lines that start with hashtags are informative comments. We can ignore those. The real action starts with the dimensions of our object, in this case 3 wide and 3 high. Then there's the standard life rule of cells being born with 3 neighbors and staying alive with 2 or 3 neighbors. Then comes the actual description. The first B means a dead cell. That O means 1 alive cell. The next B means 1 dead, and the $sign means that's the end of the row. Then the next row, 2 dead, followed by 1 alive. The third row says 3O, so 3 in a row alive. The exclamation point ends the pattern. Easy enough, you could probably draw that. The RLE format really shows its power on complex patterns. For example, this giant OTCA pattern would be a real pain in the neck to draw. Here's the RLE version. It just goes on and on and on. So my goal was apparent. Come up with a way to extract a PNG from one of those RLE things and use that to seed the first generation of my life animation. The answer was honestly Google Gemini AI. I told it what I wanted to do, how to decode an RLE, asked it to refine the code and add a couple things, and it worked like a champ. Now is a good time to download my Python program. Go to my GitHub and download the zip file. Save it, extract it. Let me show you how it works. The first thing we're going to do is going to edit that Python file. Scroll down to about line 57, and this is where you're going to specify where you're keeping all your RLEs, so it'll know where to put them and know where to find them. And then save the program. Before you do anything, make sure you have Pillow installed in Python so you can write PNG files. Look at the link in the description. And now we can run it. It's going to ask for what RLE I want. I'm going to tell it acorn.rle. It's a pretty small setup, but it does great things. We're going to put it into a grid that's 120 high and wide. We're going to put it halfway down the middle and halfway from the top. Then scale is going to ask, how big do I want the pixels? I want them at 1. It'll tell you where it saved them and what it's called and how big it is. All right, we can hit enter. Over here in RLEs, we can see what we just made. Little tiny thing, but it goes crazy. It's powerful. We are now finally dangerously close to the end here. So double click that Game of Life blend file from Seanterelle, hit the space bar, and you can see the new generations pile on top of the old generations of this random pattern. That's very cool, but we're still gonna make some changes. So over here on the right-hand side of geometry nodes, I'm gonna change this multiply value from 0.015 to 0. And that will keep the pattern from turning every time we play. Over on the far left-hand side, we're going to double-click parameters and change that 50 to 120 because that's the size of our PNG. And those cells are looking pretty small, so I'm going to change this value to 30. Okay, there we are. Tab out of that. Now we're going to drag in our acorn. By the way, if you just change the seed, go back to frame 1, change the seed, you can see that pattern changing. This is what we're going to replace. So with our image texture, we're going to change this from linear to closest. We're going to change that from repeat to clip. We're going to add a UV unwrap. And we're going to add a greater than. Change that to 0.4. It'll help clip the black values. Connect the color to the value, and then here it comes. Connect the value to this value. And there's our little guy. Pretty amazing. You know what you might want to do is you might want to add a mesh plane and make it really, really big. Apply the transforms. Go to textures, make a new one that's kind of dark. Turn on color. Rewind. And boom. The acorn is called a Methuselah pattern because it lives for 5,206 generations. Right now it looks like the whole thing's slowing down, so let's fix that. In geometry node, scoot over to this join geometry node and hit M to mute it. That way the generations won't stack on top of each other anymore. I really wanted to show you the whole acorn lifecycle, but my machine craps out at 400 frames. So head to the Life depository and watch it from there. I'm very sorry. So let me suggest you play with the colors in the shader editor. Animate the camera. Play with depth of field. This is a puffer train. It leaves some trash behind and wraps around our 120 by 120 grid. Here are some other experiments. All right, we're done. This is the end. I'm out. Bye.